please.
Abby Gibson, present. Gooding,
Present.
Sadovich,
Present.
Hamilton,
President.
Brickley.
Here. Okay. Number 2, public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight, Marty, or anything that was submitted? No?
No.
Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
okay, approval of tonight's agenda. Approval of agenda,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve by Patovich,
Second.
second by Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Approval of the utility board meeting minutes from March 25th, 2025. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Patovich,
Second.
second by Gooding. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Moving on, number 5. 5A. Financial administrative consideration to approve the bills payable in the amount of $487,835.76. Anybody have any questions? I know I had one. Vortec, was that, I saw Vortec on there for $1,700. Was that, subdivision related or?
Was on Franklin. They did some work for the electric guys, I think, on Franklin Street. Right in front of Grand Haven.
Okay. Just some improvements or repairs or?
I think they laid new conduit or something like that.
That's what this is saying, conduit and supply and install conduit there. I didn't know if it was something we would get reimbursed from a developer, if it was developer generated
I think it
or,
was for Colin. I think the electric department needed it.
okay,
I believe that's right, but we can confirm and get back to you on that for sure, but I think it was for a project for ours, for us, not
Okay.
for development,
okay.
but I will confirm.
Then the other item might be just a correction here on the back page of the credit cards. It looks like Tanner, does he have an Idaho PNR fee or is he strictly the Iowa?
He's Iowa,
All right,
Did he pay the Idaho DNR?
or ID instead of IA, just for the abbreviation in Iowa, it's typo.
I have one question too on, some of the as needed IOS. I know we've talked before on, which I guess this is more towards water end, but like supplies, like we've got all these fittings and stuff that we need. Is that something we typically just buy as needed or something we can stack to like save time for you guys or?
So you're probably talking about all the brass fittings that we just got for
Yeah.
the effluents. So that's it's needed event. Because all of the effluent testing ports that were on there currently were the original. So as soon as we opened them, they cracked and blew up pretty much. So it was like just a repair pretty much.
Okay.
So we went through and replaced all 8 of them. Cause we're testing all 8 of them. So
Okay,
it's not necessarily things that we need on hand, especially because those things Menards has those things stocked.
that was just your in-house repairs that you made for those
Or
valves.
filter effluent.
Yeah, that we heard about last week, okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right, anybody else, anything? Bills payable, motion to approve,
Motion.
motion by Peterson,
Second.
and by Patovich, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, ayes have it. And financial administrative 5B, department update.
We did hire utility billing clerk and he starts on the 14th.
Okay,
And then I did do, an MCOA update, the Municipal Collections of America. And we have collected, $1,052.91 so far.
excellent. Was that from captured tax refunds or?
So
Where did they-
783 of it was through the set off and then 269 was through the MCOA, through their efforts.
Excellent. Good.
So our utility billing clerk that was hired by the city, they come with billing experience and that I know you said that was one of your guys' big sticking points,
Oh.
having somebody used to the
He
systems, et
is
cetera.
currently a city employee, and he works at the community center. So he's not done utility billing, but he does have a lot of experiences in other areas, and then we do know he works well with everyone in the office and,
How many applicants did you have?
oh gosh, I don't know.
think
Letty
it was over
handled
40.
more of that area.
Yeah, I think there was over 40.
So is this more of a decision to keep this employee since it's a prior employee and they're, I guess Sadie made the point, you guys know they work well with others. Is that the main sticking point in hiring this person?
They use the same rubric and hiring, evaluation form that we've been using for the last couple of years. It was created at least a couple of years ago just for consistency. And I wasn't in on the application review, selection or hiring process, but I know that they formulated those questions and used the same rubric they've used for the last 2 hires.
And that was the city
And there was-
council that did the interviews for this or?
So there's a hiring committee of 4 people. It was Keegan, Colin, Letty, and Sadie. It was a unanimous decision on the qualified candidate.
Okay,
So that person is still gonna work the other position they hold with the city then?
No,
That I don't know.
there's no intention, but it's a full-time.
Okay,
Is it-
I didn't know we were hiring with then again, that's why I'm asking this.
anything else on updates?
I don't know.
Okay. Moving on to number 6. For electric department, I don't see Colin here today. I know he was around, I saw him in a bucket truck earlier today, but,
He stopped in, he did say, no outages, and then they did a full change out at the corner of Second Street in Donahue. And then today at 508 South Third Place, and so now all of the the north-south facing blocks on Sheridan Drive are now rebuilt.
okay. Thank you. And moving on, number 7, water department, 7A, water main breaks, anything to report?
None to report.
Okay, and water test results, we saw some information provided in the packet here. And then I had a question, earlier today on the city's Facebook page, there was the annual report uploaded on that. That annual report, are those results raw results or are they treated results?
For the CCR.
The 2025 water, or 24, sorry, water quality report.
So those would be finished water results. For the annual water.
So I don't know if we'll do with the CCR, but I would think it would have both.
I thought it'd be the
It
CCR.
is a CCR.
Yeah, okay.
So
But yeah, it's all finished water.
Okay,
Did something catch your eye there?
well, the fluoride showed it 4 parts per million at the pump locations, at the water treatment plant location. And so, and I know in the report that you have here from the lab, we tested it at 6.4. So it's quite a swing between the annual report versus,
do you know if do they average?
The average would be higher on the finished water though.
Yeah. So if it's just a monthly pull, because we fluctuate anywhere from 0.45 to 0.75 throughout the year.
There's maybe one that's below 0.5. I'd take a look at it.
yeah, the annual report, that caught my eye that it looked like, cause I think we mentioned before that raw is right around 0.4. And so that's,
Yeah, our raw is typically around 0.5.
okay,
But if the CCR should be finished water numbers, and if they had it listed as 0.4, that's hopefully a typo.
I thought they had both finished and raw,
That's
so I'll look through,
Maybe I-
I didn't look at it that close, but, we'll look and make sure that it's accurate.
Okay,
Yeah, because every year it's the same template.
sure. Okay, and I saw the latest lab results that, you know,
Yeah.
you provided, and it was 0.64, and so, yeah,
The finish should be around 0.7, and the raw should be around 0.5.
yeah, yeah.
How much of the fluoride do you have left?
We've enough to make it to August.
Florida just, banned fluoride from their state, Utah's banned it from their state, so,
I think it's becoming a heavier discussion
yeah.
federally. So we'll just keep waiting, see what happens.
Okay, so any other comments, questions on the water test results? All right. Moving on, 7C, discussion and consideration to approve operation of private distribution component agreement. So looks like you put together an agreement here that we're gonna share with, mostly commercial and industrial businesses that, that own their own system, where you guys are offering to perform the testing annually, I guess.
Yeah, so I've just briefly gone over our system. I think we have around roughly 14 systems that have their own private hydrants. A few of them have, I think Arno Carriers has like, I think 11 hydrants on site. So talking to them, last year and even this year, we went down there to flush to pull samples on Slippertown because it's a dead end that doesn't have very high usage. So just to see the water lights down there, us flushing down there does affect their fire system. So talking to their maintenance manager, he had asked if flushing private systems would be something that we would do. And that kind of sparked this agreement where we would have these entities sign this agreement saying that we would do this service for them, but we're not in charge of maintenance. All we are doing is strictly operating these systems. And then if there's maintenance or breaks or anything like that that come up from the operation, that's on them to take care of it. So this agreement will just allow us to go access those systems.
Is that for a fee?
No, we'll do it free of charge. Because it's part of system health anyway, because they're fed off of us.
Okay.
So some of these systems have 6-inch, 8-inch mains on their properties. So it's good to flush them anyway.
Right.
So it'll killing two with one stone because we'll be able to flush our system, make sure that the system's healthy. They're getting their system checked on to make sure there's no breaks or leaks or anything like that. So that's what that agreement's gonna be for.
Okay. And then besides RNL, have you shared this with others, and any other feedback?
Not yet. There are some that we kind of have already been flushing, and it's kind of just been, they've already been allowing us to flush those systems, but now it's kind of like one of those things where if we're gonna have one person sign an agreement, we need the rest of them to sign an agreement. Especially with our private systems, so Shared Metals will be one of them. I think Olson Unit Parts has 1 or 2 hydrants on their system. Grand Haven. So there's a few, I think, North South or Hy-Vee will have one. So each of these entities will get this agreement and then we'll be able to continue operating them.
Okay, and if they don't want to participate, then we're doing a follow-up with them providing the documentation for them to be done.
They will have to take it upon themselves to do that maintenance and they'll have to send us who did it, when they did it, how long they did it. And they'll have to be a certified plumber or something like that, so.
Sure. Okay. That looks good to me. Anybody else, any questions or comments?
Yeah, as long as I saw that there's a clause in there that we're not liable. Thanks.
And if you look on the second page of, it's that last paragraph, the signing portion, the, city needs to be capitalized too. Just a minor like type on that where it says City of Eldridge, signing this document is given the City of Eldridge.
before we actually hand them out.
So not. It's capitalized elsewhere, but not there. Okay.
Sorry.
I send you all my emails to read.
You should wait 15 minutes before you send an email and go back and think about it. Yeah.
Don't I,
Send it to Rachel first.
What's that?
I have a problem with waiting 10 before I hit send.
All right, so for the city of Eldridge Fire Hydrant Valve Operation Agreement, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Hamilton, second by Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Okay, discussion on private wells. So it looks like, there's some discussion now being had over the development on the south end of town and what our capacity currently is versus what our future needs are, and some discussion here. Is there additional information on this?
It's pretty much summed up in the memo. That's from our assistant city administrator. He deals with all of the economic development, code interpretation, enforcement. So right now, private wells, the only place that they're addressed in our city code is under subdivisions. And the rest of the code is silent on whether or not we allow private wells. But from past practice and what they've been doing over the past 10, 20 or more years, there are some instances where private wells are allowed. So we had a business that came in that wanted to connect to city water for their business, their public water supply, bathrooms, all of that. They wanted to drill their own well for production. They dye mulch and they don't need finished water for that. So it's a really rare occurrence that somebody would need to do that or have any use to drill a well and have it off of our public water supply. And so since we didn't have any code that spoke directly to that situation, Jeff went to the council to get some clarification on what the past practice was, what their desire was for development, whether we would continue to allow this or if it was even allowed in the past. They did confirm that it was something that they allowed in the past. It's kind of a case by case basis. It's similar to the deduct meter policy that we have for sewer, where we allow them to deduct the sewer charge if they're using water in production, but it's not going into the sewer system to be treated. Similar kind of thing where they don't need finished water. They don't want to buy city water for that, for the production of their goods. We would still require that they hook up to city services for anything supplied to the public or anything like that, or public use. But the council did want to continue and is going to work on clarifying the code to allow for that to be done on a case by case basis, where it would go in front of plan and zone. They would evaluate all of the terms that development was asking for, what the need of the private well was, the impact to the capacity to the water system, if there is any, and make the decisions based on that.
So what is the legal, like, if we keep this open, case by case, in terms of any legal repercussions, anybody coming back, down the road of, he has something similar, I'm trying to do something similar, mine didn't go through for some, something along that lines?
So there would still be guided terms, and they're going to clarify the code to exactly what that process would be and what process each developer would need to go through in order to get that approval. And it would include the same process every time, going through plan and zone, and then going in front of city council. I think for any full decision, the plans would still all go through site review plan with the whole team and everything like that.
So where's the water they use out of their well, where does that go?
So the water that they would be using for treatment, they would have to submit a plan for how they're going to manage their runoff. And then those types of systems that aren't part of a public water supply are monitored by the DNR or the EPA, or a combination of the two, to make sure. And then we of course review their plans and would have to approve their development plan to make sure that they are managing their stormwater runoff. There's no risk to our public system. It would be ideally, and I think this is probably the only way that we would even move forward with that, is it would be a separate system from our public system. It wouldn't be connected, so we wouldn't have that threat of contamination to the public water supply. But it would also allow us to, for those large production users that don't need treated water and they drill their own well, they're not going to be going against the capacity of what we have and forcing us into a expansion of treatment sooner than we need to be. So there's some benefit to it on both sides if we evaluate each situation and make sure we know the risk and the benefit.
So they just have to have like a reclaim system.
Or something acceptable that we know that there's not a risk to our public water supply and contamination. Which an independent system wouldn't, and I think that's what they would prefer, but
Yeah, and this doesn't like this is only for like new developments, new subdivisions.
Like
new
if they did
businesses.
decide not to do a private, like anybody else would be kept, like grandfathered in, I'm assuming.
so for resident, this is more for commercial industrial, what we're speaking to. Residential, if they're within 200 feet, they have to install the infrastructure and connect to the public water supply. I mean, that's already in code, similar or
Well, I know, like there's
near the
that
sewer.
division, I think it's the second one in Lincoln Road, like they all have their own private well and.
Yeah,
And
those are-
that type of stuff like
those were
that.
well before that code was set, but now that that code is set, the requirement for residential is that they would have to connect to the public water supply.
So,
This would be strictly for a commercial industrial purpose where they don't have the need for
Okay.
treated water, and it'd be a system in place similar to what we do for deduct meters on sewer, kind of that same thing, where we want to welcome that business and be able to allow for them to produce their product, but they don't need to buy treated water, and we don't need it to tax our system necessarily.
but they would be required to still hook for, if they have public bathrooms, potable water for kitchens,
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So we're still capturing some,
Any
Revenue
usage that they would
usage.
have at all of,
Yeah.
of treated water, they would have to be hooked up to our system. They would not be able to just drill it and have their own supply for public use or anything like that. They would have to be hooked up to ours for that.
and probably if they're doing something like that, it's a big enough well that we don't necessarily need them, like you said, to pull from what we have.
Right, yeah, I mean, if we were bringing an industry that has high water usage like that and they don't need our treated water, I mean, we can reserve that capacity because we've got a lot of space for commercial and industrial to develop, and we want to be able to meet the needs of all of those. And
Yeah, it makes sense.
treatment expansion is not a low-cost project or a quick project, so we need to plan way ahead for
Yeah,
that.
and I think
Mhm.
the latest report we had from ISG was they're forecasting, once the south end of town industrial is fully developed, our need is gonna be close to maybe 11 million gallons a day. And so it's
Where are
gonna
we at
be
right now?
1 million gallons per day. Is that about right?
Where's it gap?
Yeah, peak days are like 1.3 million.
Yeah.
And they're talking going to 11 million.
If that industrial
If
park
it's
is
full.
completely developed once it's full, so that's, and even looking through the RFIs here that Jeff has highlighted in this, other memorandum. I mean, I'm looking at 5 to 6 million gallons per day on some of these, proposals, whatever that industry is that it's representing here.
We get a lot of RFIs for industries that are huge water users that we've had to turn away just because we don't have the capacity for water primarily and sewer sometimes as well, so.
Yeah.
That
So,
was in jobs and revenue and tax base for
Yes.
school and everything else. So
so it's
at
coming.
some point, we need to probably be thinking.
It's coming, but, I mean, as far as this goes, it's a case by case basis, you know, for their unfinished water needs. I guess I don't see any reason why it can continue as case by case basis.
I'd say this is probably the first one we've had. They're really not very common.
Yeah.
Most, you'll see a need for sewer deduction way more often than you'd see someone that doesn't need treated water, because even most production is gonna need treated potable water for it to get the product that they want, the outcome. And there's very few industries that would come in that would not need some sort of treated monitored water system. So it's very rare.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on private wells? Anybody else have anything?
We're good.
Nothing here.
Okay. All right, moving on to 7E, discussion and consideration to approve new proposed service agreement with BSI. So did they come back with a new agreement?
They waive the annual $1,000 fee for the life of the contract. So if we decide to partner with them, we would never have, our upfront cost would be that $500 implementation fee.
Yep.
And then that $995, the annual cost, they waive that for the life of the contract. So
Is there any discussion? I know that's the one we discussed,
yeah, I did read
About
that. Moline.
the billing.
Moline does use BSI,
Did I? Okay,
yes, and they highly recommended them as well.
okay.
And do we get a little bit closer on a number that we're thinking to manage? Because I think last time we discussed possibly less than 100, but it could be more.
So irrigation and pools is gonna be a tough one. It's kind of the notification portion that BSI would do for us would help with that. I'd asked Ray if there would have been permits pulled for any of that, and he said that permits wouldn't have been pulled for irrigation.
Sure.
So that's where it's gonna be like hard to track those unless we just start knocking on doors and asking people if they have irrigation or not. Pools, I mean, we could just hop on Google Earth and go see who has pools. So the notification side of them is the biggest thing for us, and then the tracking afterwards.
I think if you added the pools, that alone is gonna be well more than 100, so it's.
Right.
So you said an implementation fee, they were gonna waive that this year, or no, we'd still be paying it?
So if we do like the gold, I think it's like the gold package, where they will do a notification.
And that's just $6 a notification.
That's when I think it is a 6 or 3.
It's $6. It says, this is from.
So they waived the implementation fee for that one. So our initial cost will be the cost of individual notifications plus the $500 implementation fee for BSI to start. But then we don't have that annual $995.
So if our number of notifications come out to,
Yes.
say, 500, just pulling a number here, 500. And then we would be responsible for the $695 for each notification there,
Yeah, $6 per address.
$6 per address. And then the extra, and then the $500 one, that 500 is a one-time fee
One time.
on the setup. So,
So if that's the case, it'd be $3,500.
and then it's gonna cost the homeowner roughly $17 a year. Plus,
If the testers pass that cost on,
correct,
otherwise the testers absorb that cost.
which I would guess every tester that would pass that on, they would wanna eat that, so.
Right.
So, you know,
So,
homeowner could be paying anywhere from $60 to $120 annually to have that tested.
so then, I know you just said like they would waive that annual package for lifetime, but we only have to sign a year agreement right now. Or do we have to sign?
I think currently it's just 1 year. I don't think it's, but it's, from the way that the email read, would it be as long as we are partnered with them, they would waive that $995. So if we sign a 1-year agreement this time,
Then it's still.
the next time that we continue our contract, as long as we are partnered with them, they'll continue to honor that.
And this is gonna be for each mailer, correct? Each time they get a mail, so if they get somebody that's behind the second, third, yeah, I saw the packet we had last time, and so if we're charged $6 every time they send a notice, whether it's
I can get clarification
second or third.
per notice, but it might just be per address.
Yeah, we don't wanna
Look on that.
like what we had
Second
with the
page,
other, with the water.
Right.
That should be right towards the middle.
Charges for all these extra.
Or like towards the bottom,
things.
right after that page you're on.
I think it's per address, not per notification.
This page here,
Is that the second one after the one you were on?
the second one is,
So that would make a difference too,
Yes.
because when.
yeah, here's the
we don't wanna be in
package, so,
Situation.
so.
It says it right on the bottom of Go back one page. Not that page. There, that one, oh, maybe it's on the first page.
I'm looking at this one right here.
Okay,
And for the
that's
gold class,
500.
it's cost 500 per address. And then that's what we're talking here, the gold survey.
Mhm.
That's just and there's a one-time implementation fee for us to sign up for that gold survey, which gets us the 3 notifications.
Okay,
One is of the test.
so this is $5 per address, so, okay. And would that be annual then for each notification sent out annually?
Yes.
So that's gonna cost, say, for example, if we had 500 addresses, then it's still gonna run us 2,500 a year.
So the package we would be getting is the premium, the $995.
So it looks like they charge per address, and then those addresses get 3 notifications.
Yeah,
So you just be paying,
that's how I read it.
Yes.
So basically $2 a notification.
Yep.
Where were we getting charged from the other company? For the lead and water stuff? What were they charging per?
we paid a lot more than this for that service. And did all the work.
Yeah, cause I wanna say the 1-year contract for them was like 8,000, something around there. And then we had to pay per notification that they sent out. I don't remember the per notification cost, but
It's like $4 or something.
and this document shows every single duplicate and one that they never should have sent, which is a couple hundred. So the cost of 120 water is 3 times as much as what PSI would be.
And that's what I wanna
Yeah.
avoid is another 120 water situation.
Same.
I think there's a lot of, references that use this that we're aware of that have vouched for how smoothly it runs. I know
Yeah.
Bettendorf uses it because BSI is the one that sends the notice to our house when we have to do ours each year. And it's smooth. I don't have to do anything. They schedule it, they send them out, they send me a bill and I pay and it's done. And they handle all the reporting. And I mean, if Moline's using the same thing and they're happy with them, they probably patch this down.
Iowa American uses them.
Yeah,
So a lot of the surrounding areas are already partnered with DSI. And then they do have a database of over 1,000 plumbers that are certified to handle this testing. So then whoever does have a system like this, they can go through that database and find which one they would prefer to work with.
Sure. Well, and again, if it's an annual contract. And we've got considerable improvement from last time if they're waiving the $1,000 a year or $995. And I heard to give them a try.
One of it is something where we get everything databased and it is something that we think we could handle in-house. And I don't see why we wouldn't be able to just.
So if it turns into another 120 water, then we just won't renew, right?
Right.
yeah.
But then we'd have all that data collected that we would get back from them.
Sure.
With the additions, I think employees too, like after a year, like collecting this and seeing what we need, I think that would probably be feasible to do it on their own.
Well, we know we know we're behind the process right now, so this would help get us where we need to be, and then we can evaluate next year, if we wanna keep them, right? So that's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can just make sure that if we wanted to redo it next year, that fee would definitely be waived again.
Yeah.
That'd be for sure, you know. Be nice,
I can get clarification on that.
yeah. Otherwise, I think I'm good going forward.
Okay, do I hear a motion then approving, the service agreement with BSI for the service?
One motion.
Motion by Peterson,
Second.
second by Petovich. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Okay. 7F, discussion and consideration to approve the 16th Avenue Water Tower Reconditioning Project. New proposed dates of September 1st through September 15th.
So we have Verizon, like we got their position on,
Yeah, I talked to Tad Oaks, he's our KLM rep that is like the direct contact of Verizon. He said that, he contacted Verizon, they can get it done. I think it's like the first week of August. So then there'd be no problem to make it, Verizon would make it no problem to make that September start date. I think Ryan had a question about weather turning early. They've already done projects in Iowa where they've pushed well into November and early December. And they said that if there's just days where there's inclement weather, they just wait until there's that they can continue work. But he said that based on the scale of work that we have, he said that they don't see any reason why they wouldn't be done in the 10 weeks. So we might not even get to the point where we're in late November. And then there are a few things they can do as far as prep while the tower's still in service. They can get, I think they said like a week or two of things rolling while the tower's still in service and we have any of those high usage days. So it's gonna allow us to get use of the tower for a little while longer while they're just getting prepped.
Okay.
So they made it sound like fall was the best time for them anyway.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment on that? Motion to approve the start dates of September 1st through September 15th.
motion,
Motion by Patovich. Second by Hamilton. Favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Nays. Ayes have it. Okay. Moving on then with 7G. Discussion and consideration to split the cost of the $5,000 with North Scott Schools to include the high school Lancer logo in the design for the 16th Avenue Water Tower Reconditioning Project. So that was that cost added for $5,000. And you have additional information from the school on.
Yeah, I've been emailing back and forth with Joe Studding. The last thing that we had talked about, he came back and asked if the utilities would be willing to split the cost of the logo.
So it'd be, they were
2,500 each.
proposing an even split of 2,500 each. Okay.
so I wrote down a few talking points on this. Water tower and the school logo. In my opinion, the school logo on the city water tower can be problematic due to potential costs, conflicting community opinions, which I know some of us have heard a lot of those. And, again, the water tower's primary function is to act as a public utility, not a billboard for entities or school logos. Another concern, again, is the taxpayers may view this as a misuse of resources, especially if there are other pressing community needs or those funds could be used elsewhere. On both sides of this, the school putting that money forward, even us splitting the cost on this, if that's what it comes down to. And again, I think we can all agree we like to support and showcase North Scott Lancer pride around the community. But not everybody agrees with this. A lot of people oppose it, viewing it again as a waste of taxpayers' money and an unwelcome intrusion of school imagery in public places. Again, you go back to, the water towers are primarily designed for our water storage systems and distribution, not as advertising platforms or community displays. And that's where I stand on this. I mean, another thing is too, do we know if the North Scott logo is similar to a trademark logo? I mean, do we have approval to do that if it did pass?
So they did send us their color scheme, because there is like a, I guess would be a trademark. So they sent us their whole color scheme and what it had to match.
I'm gonna say last I knew though it wasn't, because anyone can go and make like shirts or, cause I know when my mom did athletic boosters. That was one of the things is that it wasn't trademarked.
See,
so
we
anyone
lost
could sell
stuff. on our team, when we split off, and use that, we had to use a different variation of a logo.
Okay, so yeah. it
Because
is-
there's
I
other
just knew.
entities as a whole that have that trademark.
And I got public comment from a few people that said, use it to hire or pay the crossing guards more, or put one at the high school and make sure kids don't blow through, or people don't blow through the crosswalk at the high school. Because there's been a few near misses, so I've had several people think that money could be spent by the school's perspective elsewhere, but again, the thing is that I know that when I've gone to school board things, there's towers of funding, and I don't know how that, I don't know where they pull their funding from, and if that funding could even be used for the things that the people have said that they wanted it used for, but I have not had very positive public comment on putting it on the tower.
I'm not interested in splitting it. I'll just put it that, I mean, I think there's other items we can spend the funds on.
Well, Jeff, when it comes right down to it, we're the taxpayers are gonna pay for it either way. We're paying out through the school, in which they may have their own funds and stuff, but that's still my money. And utilities, that's still our money also. So, with the price of inflation and everything, if we can hold down every little bit we can, and we can pass that on so that we don't have to raise utilities as much as we would have to if we keep spending. That's just one of those things, try to hold budgets down as much as we can.
Well, and Jeff brought up a good point on our last meeting about, using North Scott as a whole, it's for the whole community. We're putting this in Eldridge. I also had a couple people bring that up too, that why are Eldridge taxpayers paying for something? And North Scott encompasses a large community and large areas.
Yeah, no, these are all valid points and, like I stated last meeting, is it a necessity? No. I think, I've had some interaction. I think, the North Scott Press did a great job in capturing our comments from the last, meeting and putting it out there for the public and so, I got additional feedback, but overwhelmingly, everything that I received was definitely in favor of it, and so I might be the only lone one on this one, so be it. That's what makes our board good. We all bring something to the table here, I'll just leave it at that. I know we received emails. I think Dan Schnuckloff was in favor with his email. And appreciate, everybody that wrote in or provided the feedback to all of us, so.
And I do appreciate it,
There's a few positive, but
yeah.
more negative than positive, so
So I'll make a motion.
I attached it on one of but I have it, so if you want to copy.
Was this, you didn't get it?
I didn't see.
Oh, you didn't see it? Okay, it was probably in your Friday.
Yeah, the drafted Friday one I
Okay,
attached.
sorry.
I guess from my seat, we are here to serve the public. Any feedback, and I've received a lot of it and comments on it. It's not just this one topic, other topics come up too. I did make a comment, Jeff had said, okay, what are your thoughts if we ever got to that point of putting in that position by the softball field, something like that. And people were more receptive of that, but it went back to always of this money shouldn't be spent here. It has been billboard to promote North Scott, and why is everything North Scott? Which a few people were like, oh, it only cost $5 grand to put our logo on the water tower, so we can put our business logo, which I'm gonna shut that down. That isn't
No,
the
yeah,
point of it, no, but that's some of the
can't sell
perspectives
ad
you
space.
get.
because there were some
not a
suggestions about a
billboard.
projector and things like that as well, and who would manage that, and I think, you know, a few of us discussed it, and so now that probably isn't good
Like the
either,
Mexican,
so.
like,
Muscatine lights out, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
something like that.
So anyhow, I mean, yeah, I mean, again, we all received valuable feedback. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve, and if we don't get a second, well, that's where it sits. Do I hear a second? No, okay, so that does not pass. And department updates, 7H. Keegan, anything else?
I think you guys got the all-purpose generator.
Yes.
Well, so that was just purely a quote on what it would take to replace what was there. We're obviously not looking to replace it, it's purely for knowledge. Again, Ryan had asked if the generators would be available for pickup and drop off, so we can eliminate that $500 one way, $500 the other way. So they are available for pickup in Cedar Rapids, East Peoria, and in Addison, normally. If there ever is an instance where we're gonna be down for maintenance and we require a temp generator, there's the delivery charges, if we don't pick it up, are negotiable for pre-planned events. So, I also have Tri-City building quotes on what it's gonna take to put a transfer switch or a quick connect transfer switch for a temp generator. And they're also gonna quote for the replacement of a generator. So Tri-City will give me something.
and Tri-City you typically stay with Tri-City because they do a lot of our stuff, correct?
Right, and Altford can't do the electrical side of it, so if we wanted a quick connect transfer switch on the outside of our buildings, Tri-City would probably have to do it anyway.
So they're just subbing that part out, right?
They would,
For the 5,200.
they would sub the electrical.
So have they, determined what's wrong with the current one?
The parts sales guy that I've been talking to has not gotten me a quote on the coolant system, on what it would cost to rebuild it. I talked to our tech, and the tech was gonna reach back out to the sales rep. So hopefully you guys continue to work on that, so I'll reach out again and hopefully I can get those numbers back to you guys for the cooling system. And if that one's, I'll probably just email it to you guys.
And, you know, just to expand on what Mark said, I think that it's important for us to understand, if we can, what's wrong with it? Is it just a radiator? Is it a water pump? I mean, it looks like from the last report, they recommended checking the ECM for overheating. I don't know if that was done. Inspect for clogging, plug cores, or drain systems, flush and refill. I'm not sure if any of that was done, but they had some recommendations here to maybe remediate it.
So we did do the flush and refill this time.
Okay,
I had Chris come back out. He came back out a week after, because we wanted to give it time to go through one test cycle. And then when he got there, we let it run for an hour to see that cooling system actually operate. And then he took a sample from that one. And I don't know if I sent that to you guys or not. I haven't got that back yet.
yeah,
I don't think,
I have the March 7th, 2025.
I think that
Last
was
sample I had.
was it after that?
I'd have to look again. But I think from initial looks at it from that one, it wasn't as dirty. So I think the flush helped, but I still think there might be some persistent issue.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, radiator and a water pump or either or something. If it's less than, say, $5,000, that's a lot different than 56,000 to replace it.
Yeah.
So-
Right.
Cause
So,
how old was that generator, do we know? And how long do they generally last?
That's gonna be my question too.
Yeah.
What we're looking at as far as time wise.
I mean, they should last a long.
They should be a while,
They
but,
should,
Properly maintained.
Yeah.
I mean, they run them
and they're not
weekly, so.
running,
every Wednesday they do a test
Yeah.
run for, I think, an hour.
yeah.
yeah, 'cause your
Like
hour
our
meters,
home one.
yeah, your hour meters. Yeah, under 500 hours total.
So it's gotta be just the test runs, really.
Yeah, I don't, So they
Even
haven't
under
designed
the
it.
ratio, did it do it?
No.
Then, yeah,
Because there's also, we have an 8 to 12 hour window where the plant's not even running, so it's not even requiring power. And realistically, all we would need it to be able to do is run a high service pumps. Because we can turn wells on that are in the system that are connected to other power, that have their own generators.
yeah.
But for the main plant, the treatment plant, I think one of the questions I had too was, for a rental, which you got us the rental agreement, that's great. And we do understand now that there's an option to pick it up, but if we required or needed them to deliver it, do they have a set time frame that they could respond in?
He told me 2 hours.
Okay,
He said, if you need something, I can get to you in 2 hours.
middle of the night still?
And that's coming from Cedar Rapids.
That's probably considered.
That's not bad.
Yeah. And that's what I was hoping for, is we'd have a plan, a backup plan, because,
He also mentioned that if it was something that we were concerned about, they could stage a temp generator down here specifically for Oak Ridge. But I told him this was like we didn't need like a special circumstance generator stage down here, because if they need it somewhere else, there's no reason for them to hold it down here, because I think they just hold it down in Bettendorf.
So if you were anticipating like that last storm that came through, I mean, they had all these people set up, obviously nothing happened. Is that something
Yeah, because that would be like.
that you could anticipate and say, hey,
Pre-planned
we may?
events, and we could ask him to stage one down at Cat on River Drive. And then we could drive in 15 minutes and go pick it up and bring it right back here. But that's why I'm talking to Tri-City for that quick transfer switch, where we don't need an electrician to come with to hook it up to our current transfer switch. So it might be something where,
And that solves the door being open situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
which now we figured out that we could mount it on the garage. Because the power from the transfer switch in the treatment plant goes underground, goes to the garage, and jumps from the garage over to the generator. So they can mount that transfer switch on the garage rather than
It's all right
anywhere
there.
on the brick on the plant.
Mhm.
So I think that the transfer switch might be something that we actually pursue, just so we have that as a contingency.
Yep,
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier.
and I definitely agree with that, and appreciate the direction you're going with that, as far as having a safe, reliable, easy
Yeah.
method to, switch over if the time comes when necessary, but, yeah, I think if we can still press them to, we can better understand why, or is there a fix for the coolant system
Yeah.
here? So, because all the other fluids are coming back stellar, so.
Right. No, I'll definitely give a priority tomorrow to talk to their sales rep. Yeah, after that, ISG, Tom Atkins and Cody Smith were down here on last Wednesday. Just go through some training points with Tanner. They watched him go through the process of retesting regimen. And just to make sure that he was coming along nicely, because I did receive some of the training from ISG. And it was very helpful, because there were some things that we could tweak to make faster and more efficient. So they watched Tanner, and Tanner did a good job. But they didn't have very many recommendations, so we know we're doing good things here. We started. So yesterday I had Bryson to basically start the disinfection process of starting our new well, or not our new wells, our wells, to switch over to our spring, summer, fall wells. We started that yesterday and today. The plan is to flush them 2 or 3 more times. Then we'll put the wells 3 and 4 into service on the 15th. Then we will start our system flushing regimen. Which I think Jeff might have already posted in the North Scott Press.
So that way people know.
Yes. We do notifications anyway. There's a certain businesses that we call that may be affected when flushing happens that have fire systems. So they're the ones that are most important to know why that's happening. But nice red ones to know too.
But I guess on that, I'd be curious to know how many people actually get the North Scott Press.
I think we posted to the Facebook.
It's
too.
on Facebook. Well, it was last year, wasn't it? Didn't we post it with Facebook? I feel like it was on there.
We do put a post on Facebook for it. Sometimes we'll send out the call alerts depending on.
I was gonna say, we do have like a schedule, so they'll let us know like what day they're on,
Yeah.
and then we have sheets that tell us what area is affected and.
Just that
We get
maybe
people
it
call.
mitigates people calling in for you guys. and
Keep it
calling
like some
some
special callers.
Yeah.
You know, I just, yeah, just to hope not to overwhelm everybody.
Can you print it on the bottom of the bill?
Postcards,
Might be an idea.
yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
I don't know how you know this, because I haven't looked at my kids.
Free
Leave the
gardening.
lights on.
bill. It's on there.
They can have everyone since I've moved in.
Keep this corner.
Nope, they don't.
My dang
spot.
Totally. Tax copies and-
And we're trying to write down the cost of postage and you,
oh, I'm right there, I'm not giving up my postcard. I'm terrible.
Apparently I couldn't keep track of my postcard or my online emails.
just set it to auto pay and
When you get so old, you count on that.
Your bank tells you not.
It is, it's right there. I get to see it all the time. Otherwise, I'm out of sight, out of mind, you know.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, last thing, this sheet that you guys have, it wasn't as part of the agenda, but I was gonna make it just part of the update. So this is the fully sifted list of the unknowns that 120 Water had for us.
Excellent.
Everything in red is a duplicate that needs to be removed. There are a couple in red that were addresses that don't even exist. Everything in yellow is something that we need to go out and verify yet, and then everything in blue is a private system, a private well. Which, because they were listed as an unknown, they got letters anyway. So on their list, there's 1,376 unknowns. Because some of those are duplicates, I still think each one of them got notifications. So if it was $4 per notification, we have a couple hundred duplicates that received notifications. The private ones also should not have received notifications. But yeah, so based off this list too, I'll probably have the guys take these into the field and start doing field verifications, so we can start getting this list knocked out. We have 2 years to get it fully updated. I don't want it to take the 2 years. But then the other thing we do is, like with shutoffs for utilities, our notifications, we can do like a door hanger. I know we just did a door hanger, put some meters that need to be swapped, and people responded to those pretty quickly. So it might be something where we have door hangers for each of these verification addresses and see if we can get a large response from them.
Their way, like when you, I don't know how they, it looks like it's in Excel form. You start sending your guys just to like format it, so you get all the addresses like in line with where they're at to
Yeah,
focus in.
that's the next plan is to actually. This is just how they had it laid out in their system, where it's actually like by street, by house number, rather than
Everywhere.
2 here, 2 over there, 2 over there. So we can get it condensed to where it makes sense and guys can tackle one area at a time. And then obviously everything in white is something that has been verified. The plan after this is I'll start taking over the DNR notification for the LCR. And then I'll just work with the DNR on getting that updated. So definitely. And I don't plan on moving forward with one building water. If it's something that you guys still see benefit in, obviously.
There's a lot of yellow in here.
There's a lot of yellow.
Like how much on average time does this take to like look at like just one location?
To go into one and verify.
Yeah,
If we have quick access, it takes 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's just a look.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Whether
It's
it's,
just,
you can, you know,
at the minimum, we can do a little scratch test.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, but yeah, 30 seconds. So if we do notifications, if we get a big response and we can start getting a list of ones that we can go to, there's no reason why we couldn't knock out 100 in a day.
But the yellow's been verified, right?
No, the yellow.
No,
Not very, okay, need to
Yeah.
verify.
The,
just get back to those back sheets, that's all you have.
Yeah, I saw.
the ones not colored are the ones that have been verified.
Gotcha.
Can we, I mean, be nice to put something out like,
Well, we have lots and lots of different notifications, and we told them that we're gonna come dig up their yard and all the things.
I mean, this is for a few.
We do not want,
I mean, all people have to do is just call in and tell us,
That's the other thing is, if we can get just the homeowner to call in.
just call in. Can you guys call in, everybody?
we got some gallons,
Yeah.
but
There's quite a few on here.
not a lot.
Yeah,
But now that you've got an actual list of what needs to be done, they can just go out and start, and if they have to dig it up, they'll have to dig it up.
Which-
People will run out and tell you let you into their house, you're digging up their yard real quick.
Uh-huh,
yeah,
just bring your,
find where your service goes in.
Well, when you pull up with a dump truck and a bag.
It's an attention getter.
They're gonna ask questions.
Katie's gonna post on Facebook, going on in Elders
Over a
today.
dozen notifications at this point.
Yeah, and we did the call out. We did the call out to like 300 of these addresses. And I think we only got like 150 responses. So we're trying, but I think the next thing would be the door hangers, because door hangers seem to be, I think some people equate that to their service getting shut off.
Mhm.
So if we do door hangers, just asking them to identify their service, maybe there's gonna be a better response.
Can we put a date on there when if we do door hangers, like we need to verify a response by XYZ, or we will be digging.
Yeah,
We've done that.
I was gonna say, I think that's what our last one was.
We were gonna offer some overtime to city employees that wanted it, that would go after work, so people are home to not.
Sure.
Because during the
That's a
day,
good
people
idea.
aren't necessarily home all the time, so it's hard to get access to them, but if we could get a couple of employees that were interested in doing a couple of hours and. Cause I mean, anybody can go in and verify it, I know Jeff's gone and done a few.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Anybody can.
and I think we even have like
Self-reporting.
a picture document made up where it showed
Mhm.
people how to identify their stuff.
You got a young college person working here this summer,
Yeah, they have that in.
Intern or something.
On the list of asks.
you know,
We
well,
did it.
yeah, just,
We did, at the previous city I worked for, we partnered with a college because they needed
Mhm.
credits for their graduation program. They came in and did all of them. It took,
fantastic.
helped them, helped us.
And if you know anybody on that list that might not have responded,
Naughty list.
I didn't see that
ask them.
What's your address, Abby?
Hang on. I was looking through our properties too. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like,
Everybody.
So your old house on Naples.
Yeah,
Really?
I know, it's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
It should be fine.
So no, it's, your
Yeah.
house personally is a private, so
Yeah.
mark in blue.
I was looking at my emails there.
But yeah, if you guys know anybody that hasn't, if you see an address on there.
Yeah.
Come out that way.
Anything else?
I know names, I don't know addresses.
No, other than that, filter effluent testing, we ran out of some chem keys. I did order more because when we switched to well 3 and 4, we'll restart filter effluent to see changing the wells if it affects the chemistry of the water and how the filters react. So for now, we're done with filter effluent testing, but probably take it back up here in 2 weeks. All I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Peterson. Second,
Motion. Second.
second by Patovich. Favor say aye.
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 It's 2 weeks in a row.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know.
we're trying to get out of
All
here.
right.
This year must